These are people who for long lived in pagan worship till they found a new Savior in Christ Jesus. This man, who was the chief of a particular village called Tolong in Garam district of Kanke local government, Plateau State, was called Chinke. Now I happen to be the great-grandson of this man, and as I grew up I heard stories of him, of what he did for his people, and it caught my interest, and I was like, how or what entered this man's mind? What did he see? How did he come to accept this thing while I was told others rejected? This led me to a lot of conclusions. I want to share these conclusions with you on this program, and I would really appreciate it if you would pay close attention, listen to the arguments, listen to the stories, and make your own minds on what you will see and what you will hear. Come with me on this short voyage through the lands of Tolong people in Plateau State.
But I can trace their roots within the Angas, area. We were told that they came to Muel in Ampang, Karen Ampang district. If you go to Muel today, you will find some of our kin there at Muel. Right now, you will find some of our kin at Muel, and they will tell you, yes, that they have relations in Garam. From Muel, they moved down to Dewa. Dewa is now in Garam. Quite okay, is the hill part of Garam. The way you identify them is that they have this clan name, identity name. They call it Simwal. All right, they have about 2 or 3 different branches of the same identity name. They are called Ngoyim, they are called Ngongu. All these are the identity names of my people. These are the 2 that I can remember. And so if you are looking for Ngongu, you will get some in Langkang district. You will get some in Tangshin district. You will get some in Ampang. Some in Ampang. They are scattered all over Angasla. So it is very difficult for you to know from which direction they came. So you can only trace them, within their movement within the Angasla. So you would understand that because the Ngaspi person was a fiercely independent person, it was not difficult for 2 brothers to disagree on who should be the head, and they will part, and then this one will move and settle somewhere else, and that is how we come to now have them scattered all over Angatla. So they moved from where they left some there. They went down to Dewa. From Dewa, then they left some in Dewa. So if you go to Dewa today, you would find our people there. They are also Ngoyim. The identity name is also Ngoyim. From there, some of them came. They split into 2. Some went and settled where you call Pet today in Garam, the lowland Garam. Pet people. They are also our root stock. Then our people continued down the valley, down the hills, right down to Garam. Then they moved back through Bedam and came up to the Duncan Hills. They settled in the Duncan Hills for quite some time. Then they moved from there to Kurum. Their marks, the marks of their movements are still present there right to today. Some of the marks are the pieces of farmlands they own in those locations. Some of the marks are actually the idols they left in those locations. So up to date, elderly people, Tolong people know where their marks are in these locations. Then from Kurum, they move down to where they settle. You know. The Angas people probably will take the issues one by one.
Okay.
They are predominantly farmers, what we call subsistence farming, cultivating mainly guinea corn, millet, some rice, groundnuts for cash purposes, and numerous other crops. So most of them are farmers. Food culture, mainly tuwo and mia. Tuwo is made from either corn flour, millet flour, and the soup from various ingredients. That's basically their food. They eat only they eat mainly dinner in the evening. In the mornings they take kunu, watery liquid prepared with corn flour that is used during the day. In the evenings they take tuwo. That's the food culture. Those who can afford meat, they take meat. Various animals, cattle, beef, meat from sheep, chicken, they keep animals too. That is for food. In marriage, it's like most cultures. But the unique thing about the Angas is that they have this marriage culture that seems to have been come from the Middle East very closely. You get engaged to a woman, you farm for the family about once or twice a year. 1 year before you get married, you build a house. I mean the husband to be will build a house. The wife to be, the girl will roof it. Then she will go back to her parents, spend 1 year, almost like that of Israel. Then the husband will arrive, he will then arrange to go and bring her home after 1 year. And that is basically the marriage culture of the Angas. So that's basically the men before Christianity came. Men of about 15 years of age had to be what they have to be dedicated. They had the ceremony had to be performed. They were circumcised. After circumcision, they were initiated into adulthood. They spent about 2 weeks to be initiated into manhood. These are basically the cultures. They have religious culture before Christianity came, and that people were idol worship. They worship a multitude of idols. They have festivals that run about 2 or 3 festivals in a year. So in Garam they have the most pass is usually sometimes in June. They do it actually to give a portion of the new crop, the millet crop. The millet crop, is ready, used to be harvested towards June ending early July in those days, because they used to plant millet in April. The weather had changed, certainly when I was a young man, our people, if they did not sow their farms, sow their farms in April, they would lose the crop. But the weather has changed these days. Those days, June ending July, millet was harvested, and it was at that harvest period that was celebrated. It was celebrated, it was a harvest celebration. People gave thanks to the gods for making it possible for them to cultivate millet and to get the crops. So they did it to give thanks to the gods for that harvest. And then Mustar is the next one. It's another harvest. Mustar was about November, close to November, December, when they were anticipating the harvest. Or sometimes it was before the harvest of guinea corn, sometimes it's after the harvest of guinea corn. And it was again a celebration of the bountiful harvest of guinea corn. So these were the two major crops that the people celebrated. It was always to thank the gods for seeing them through another harvest period.
In the days of old, weakness was not tolerated. Children that were born sick, unhealthy, or abnormal were taken to this particular stream and thrown in to see whether they would survive. If a child was able to swim and find his way back home, then he would be allowed to remain in the community. But if a child was too weak to swim out, he was considered unfit to remain among the people of Tolong, Garam district.
Okay.
The people of Garam have a lot of interesting stories that they pass down to their children and to friends alike. And there is one that actually catches my attention. This one is about a man, a mysterious man who lived long, long ago, named Ngat. Ngat was a man who had a dog, and he lived up in the hills. He was a man who went out hunting with his dog. One day the people came out only to find that Ngat was nowhere to be found. Only the footprints of him and his dog embedded on solid rock on the high mountain. The people for years and years worship at this shrine, the spot where Ngat's footprints were embedded on solid rock. I found this story quite interesting, and me and my friend and brother decided to go and check it out, since we were told that the footprints of Ngat and his dog exist on the hilltop till today. We set out early in the morning, out on a voyage to see for ourselves the mysterious footprints of Ngat. As we began our journey early in the morning to the site where it is claimed that Ngat arose, we met people on the way who told us and assured us that the footprints did exist. On our way, we discovered more settlements, ancient settlements that had been abandoned by the people that had moved to other greener pastures. We also discovered shrines and ancient relics, pottery, stones carved in special ways, symbols of the way of life of the people of those days. But as for Ngat and his footprints, we never found them. After a long tiring trip, at long last, we met someone who told us that the stone that had Ngat's footprints was destroyed due to a fallen tree that was burnt on it, and that brought to an end to our search. Hello.
Ngat yalbula. Oh, in history, one for a mod which I work in it. Okay. Who came up in here? I know. Muli adora.
Well, there goes the story of Ngat, who was said to have risen up to heaven on the hills of Ngasland. But no matter what, whether fable or true, one thing that this assures me of is that right deep within the hearts of men, God has hidden himself, or something about himself, to help them remember, to help them keep hope that they too can have a relationship, that they too can have a closeness with him, as the people in their stories tell, or the lives of the people in their stories tell. And that was an example of this mysterious relationship that the man had with his God, and the result of it was him being taken up into heaven with his dog. Interesting, isn't it? Well, doesn't this story remind you of Elijah in the Bible, that was said to have been taken up in a chariot of fire to an unknown destination? What about Enoch, even before that? I was so close to God that his whereabouts were not known anymore. This is something to ponder about. And best of all, Jesus Christ, who died and was resurrected on the third day. And in the eyes of his disciples, he arose into the open skies. The people of Africa were not left out in the scheme of things, in God's plan to bring back people to himself. And so he left little nuggets in their hearts, so that when the time was ripe and the Europeans came with another story of a man who died and was resurrected on the third day, they would quickly link it up, and they would know that indeed it was possible for them to have contact and to worship the true and living God.
Now let's go to the story of Chinkin. The story of how he received the missionaries, gave them land to build a school and a church, and became one of their first converts.
Atolong, my family she marage sarkin tolong walk.
Okay.
Goyim chinke.
Okay. Okay. Kai girma ka ji tarihin cinke a wannan garin?
Na ji tarihin shi ne.
Okay. Yanzu haka ajiye shi ne ya karɓar Christianity a wannan kauyen.
Shi ne.
To, kana ga mene difference na shi abin da ke faruwa yanzu da inda ka ji da abin yake?
No, a lokacin da ya karba Christianity a kawo shi. Other people wanda suna nan garami inda ba su so ba.
Okay.
So an stress in rayuwar shi.
Suna haifa wani ba, bala mobile cinke.
To, lokacin da an haife ku a nan, ya ne kaga, ya ne sunan nan tukuna?
Tolong.
Ka yi a yare ɗin kusa? Tolong ba?
Tolong.
To,
what is the meaning of the name Tolong? It means
Atongbalong.
it is a land of abundance. It blesses all those who live in it.
Okay. So,
when you were growing up, how was the life of the people around here? Was there Christianity in this place? When I was born, as we grew up, there were very little Christians here. Most of the people here were animists. And when the people who were worshipping the idols, when they came, they tried to stop the women from going out to do their women's fellowship. My grandfather Chinke was the one who brought the missionaries in, and they started educating our people. They opened a small school right here under the hill. In those days, the life was better than now. I knew my grandfather when I was about 11 years of age. He was big, he was fair, and he had breasts like a woman. He was very fat and very tall. I used to go to the farm to look after it so that the animals wouldn't eat it, and I would come and meet him at home.
Okay. Okay.
He would be lying down under a big tree, and we would all gather around him, lying down on his body. He would call me aside and give me food from underneath his bed.
Okay. The Andas people, before the white man came, they were organized as villages, not districts. You must appreciate that. The whole of Andas land, there was no district head anywhere. It was all organized as villages. And then from villages you had hamlets under them. So he was a village head, and it was inheritable. There were two ruling houses in the place. It was his turn to be the chief. So he was the kingmakers, selected him.
Please tell us the history of how Christianity came into this village. What I know is that when the missionaries came, they came from Tuan in Kabir, and they met our neighboring chief, the chief of the neighboring village. But he told them that he could not accept anything since he had many gods. But he had an elder brother here called Chinke, whose shrine was much more respected than his. And when they came here, My grandfather Chinke accepted them and accommodated them. But his chiefs, his fellow chiefs, refused. And they said the missionaries will expose the secrets of the shrine to the women, and so they did not accept. To the extent that they grabbed Chinke and they burnt his beard. They even took him to Panshin, got him arrested, and took him to court. They accused him of burning the farms of his subjects. But Chinke said he just wanted to follow God. What that means is that there was no Christianity in the whole of that valley. You know, the whole of valley where Garam, Tal and associated areas are located, that big valley was very, access road to that place was very, very difficult and very hard at that time. And so they were totally cut off from the rest of the world. So my grandfather was the first actually to invite missionaries to the whole of that valley, comprising right now of about 3 districts, currently about 3 districts. And also I was made to understand that in the whole of Angasland, Garam was the 3rd place for the missionaries to visit and establish a branch. After Kabir and Amper, not even Panshin, after Kabir and Amper, Garam was 3rd. And so my grandfather was responsible for bringing Christianity to the whole of that valley. And he invited them down. And when they came down, it was strange because the whole of the place, the people had never seen a white man. They had never heard of Christianity. And so when he brought it, he faced a lot of problems. His colleagues in the heathen religion persecuted him for it. The story is told on how they conspired to lie on him that he caused the destruction of the crops of his people. And as a result, he was arrested. And we were told as kids that his persecutors even brought flame and tried to burn his beard with it. And he was arrested and taken to Panshin. Fortunately for him, the missionaries were informed and they had to rush down to Garam and investigate, and they discovered that it was not true. So they sent the report quickly to the district officer, who was then a white man at Panshin, who intervened and caused him to be released. And as a result of this, the district officer at Panshin promptly recommended that the man, because of the foresight of my grandfather, that his stool should be salaried. And so from that time to date, the village head of Tolong is a salaried village head because of what he did. From there, the missionaries came, he gave them a place, a piece of land, they settled, they established a church, they established a school, they established a missionary clinic, which served the whole of that valley, including Garam, Tal village, that's a Tal district, south of Garam, and some other areas, southern parts of Panshin district. They all, as a child, they always were coming to that place. I remember that as a child, there was
this smallpox, outbreak within that time. And it was there that people from the whole of that valley used to come for treatment. Smallpox, cerebrospinal meningitis, and disease epidemics that took place in the whole of that valley, they used to refer them to that place. And from there, Western education entered the whole of that village and spread. Now, if you go to almost every village in that place, you will find a primary school, you will find a clinic, and if you trace, you will find out that the first person who brought those things to Garam was my grandfather, Mr. Chief Chinke.
Okay.
The story is also told that he received a visitation from an angel. Unfortunately, because he was not learned, he was not educated. His colleagues, his wives, his friends and relations used to mock him. That the angel told him that he was going to rule the world. And they would mock him. They say, look at this. How can you possibly rule the world? Because they didn't just understand what the angel meant by saying you will rule the world. If you continue with me, you will rule the world. The angel told him that. And they tried to ridicule him on that, These are the few stories that we were able to gather from our parents as we were growing up.
It was because of Chinke that this land was open to civilization, to education. People from all over the place, our neighbors from Tal, from all over the place came to study. It was because of him that missionaries came, and our former president, General Yakubu Gowon, was born in this village. To missionary parents. This is the little I can tell you about this.
To a ganin ga yanzu mene yasa Chinke da an ce shine kuna da shrine a nan ba a da a gungwar a nan gungwar
Gungwar
da wurin ne wurin safin su
Gungwar a for
okay
for Gungwar kenan Gungwar amma mana Gungwar ba kon kai yin gudba na yin for do kai di
okay lead food ne dia
leading for warn
okay
lead warn di
ni do lead warn wang ba to
ya tuntendi bijim
to meru chi Chinke meru chi ne.
What happened to Chinke that he decided to do this? I think it's the Holy Spirit. It's just the Holy Spirit. It has to be the Holy Spirit that touched Chinke.
Okay.
Side of us, and what I have to say about Garam, in which town is situated, will be a kind of a second information. It is not direct. My father, who was an evangelist, was very close to Benjamin's father. Benjamin is a retired teacher, living at Sham now. I remember the name of that our father is Wapuk, and they were right in town. So my reminiscences of Garam is a place that was difficult to receive the gospel. They didn't sort of jump on it. For some strange reason, they found it difficult to become Christians in those early days. So Gapuk was one of the few, and he subsequently became an evangelist for many years, along with my father in Kampang. It has come in my research also to know that Chimke was at one time one of the, if not the earliest converts to Christianity, for which he suffered. I think they didn't want to accept it, and he had to for a time, leave the place for action of a sort. It took root a little bit in them, and one of the evidences was that people started running education, Western education, and some put now lit, and some Shaham Murab, they were the early students who went up Western education as a result of evangelism having come, because we haven't arrived there. Now, generally, the verse which will include the Garam people resisted Christianity up to a point, in the sense that they couldn't part with the very many idols. Those idols provided security for them in many aspects, and to let go of these in favor of the unseen God was very difficult for them. And that's the first level. They resisted. And I remember even my own father, when he spat on his face because when we went up to Ampang, to see the chief there. And then they had the notion of foreigners, these are foreigners. That's the first reaction of the person. And of course, we are talking about the lifestyle. That is addicted to his beer, It doesn't take it as a pastime, and part of which they say you should not take, and so on. And he wouldn't like that very well. And that is part of the reason why the Catholics, when they came, when they permitted wine, you see, they rush very much more fast than the brand, particularly the Sudan United. So, but leave that aside. What I'm saying is that the Christianity came, and that's resisted church because of their idols, who were protectors. So they provided security for the people in the first place. In the second level, they were receptive to it because they now compare it with the Islamic world, and their experience with Islam was very bad. They regarded them as bullies, as wicked people, because they treated them badly. And I can tell you the story of one of the chiefs, I think Gontor was his name, at Kabul, when they couldn't finish paying the jizya, or what we would call taxes. He almost was paying it, and they wanted to send him to Bauchi. Instead of going to Bauchi, because he knew the Islamic forces were very wicked people, as our own estimate, he preferred to die, and he hanged himself. That's Chief Gontor at Kabul. It's not a dream-up story, dreamt-up story. So because of that, at that second level of reflection, they en masse want to rather side with the European, who they think is more righteous. So these are really basically, if we're talking about culture and all that, this is the reason for them to have accepted Christianity. And they turn out to be that they also have the good Western education and technology and all that, so it worked for them because although Islam had a civilization of its own, a very formidable one, the West has superseded their own technology and their own understanding of the world. So now they are catching up again, but this is the fact of the case. So at that time, it was Nasara that was ruling in many things. So the third stage is that they now felt it was, they are all happy. After all, we're not lost by accepting that's Jesus Christ, the white man.
Okay, there's something that caught my interest when I was asking some questions. I went to and asked the people and they were talking about also the book of Bravery. Talked about it and the experience of Tuan, where the biggest idol was consulted in Tuan, and there was also a similar story in Garam too, that the idol of when the white man came, they were sent to Chinke's shrine because his shrine was considered the biggest around that very vicinity. Maybe that is most important. Yes, exactly. Most efficacious. Yes, yes. Shrine, and so somehow, what do you think was like the experience of Tuan? They had to consult the gods, and the gods accepted the communion. Do you think there is any? How would you see it as a theologian?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and I have tried to haggle with it. Of course, I have the version of the Kabul one in my own book, which is published by Germany, European series of works. And that is why, so many of us who have thought deeply, we move on the side of caution and not to be too gullible and to be forthright. God is not like that. You see, He is the I am who I am, I will be what I will be. That's the Hebrew. We go to Him. And we can't pin down God. And we try to, especially Protestants and sects, you know so much about God, you speak with a kind of finality. God is not like that. The basic reason is that the that man knows what the truth is. He wants truth. And whatever that truth is associated with God. So his gods are not to betray that truth for which he's looking. And in the case of Tuan, the meal generally is not a man of second sight. But Tuan is a man of second sight. And so they ask when the white man came to Wembley, who is more populous, and that's the way it worked in those days. When you go, you look for a bigger tribe and so on, you start the gospel there. But they couldn't give the answer, because they were not men of second sight. So that's why they came to Watuan to have a look at it. Politically, Wembley was more in number, and they were the head of district. But spiritually, that's talking about natural endowment. Spiritually now, it's what that could foresee things, could discern things spiritually. So they went to them to find out whether this new thing coming that the European, the white man was bringing was going to be good for them or not. And the tour now said, okay, at a particular time, if the Yarkub comes and makes noise, then it will be a signal of bad omen. But if at this particular time he doesn't come and sound the voice of danger, then it's a good thing to accept. And that's what happened. By the divination, he now assured the people of Kabul that what was going to come, the new thing that was coming. It was the gospel that was going to be a good thing. And the question now, as we are linking up with what we found out in Ram, is how, you put it crudely, how can the devil show that God is good, or how can the fetishes, as they sometimes call them, which I don't accept of course, because they are gods rather than fetishes, doing something good if the gospel is opposed to them. And my answer to that, which is a theological, almost a theological dilemma, is that truth, fairness, true science is always a part of God. And only the manifestations that can vary, and in the manifestation of Jesus is perfect, and the manifestation that we see in the idols, which I wouldn't call them idols, I call them gods, are imperfect. That's why we accept Jesus Christ. But it isn't that for the best purposes. It isn't even that the gods or the idols, the fetishes, are teaching people injustice, and they will certainly not accept falsehood. That's the God of the gospel. So what I'm saying is that there is the truth in the way they worship. I don't know about other tribes, but definitely the gods or idols or fetishes do not accept falsehood. And if for sometimes, for example, if a person commits adultery, you will not worship them. You will cast away. And we know also that adultery is deadly in the Bible. What we're saying is that their own service is not as perfect, and Jesus is the perfect one. Take for one example, sacrifices. They had to make a lot of crowd sacrifices, and sometimes when you make a crowd sacrifice, the answer is not really firm until you can repeat. But the sacrifice of Jesus is perfect, once and for all. Not only that, it is He Himself that He offered. So there is that measure of the truth at that point, because the idols seeking the truth, they know that the gospel was superior, and they told the gospel to accept it. And I think that's one way of explaining theologically. Another way would be, you know the story in Acts of the Apostles, when Paul came to heal one lunatic or somebody, and immediately when he saw them, he recognized them as people of God. So that's one way you can explain that. Even if you say the gods were evil, the idols were evil or whatever, that did not stop them from still discerning that yes, there's somebody greater than us there. That's probably what you can explain the one incident by two explanations theologically. Otherwise, I mean, look at it, how can good come out of evil if they are all evil? But the theological, there's two ways of looking.
Yes, that was a special edition of Searching the Heart. I hope you enjoyed this very edition. Please put your comments down in the comment section. The links are in the description. And you can send your questions to daviddunji@gmail.com or author@daviddungibooks.ng. All are there for you to send your questions, or daviddunji@yahoo.com. Thank you for watching this episode. I hope you continue to subscribe to this channel and send in your comments and your questions, special requests. Of course, go to the website and order your books, and tune in again for the same another edition of Searching the Heart. I am David Chinke for you today on Searching the Heart.
Discover a transformative journey into the kingdom of heaven. Following the initial publication, the author dives deeper with two insightful follow-up books. Ever felt disconnected from God even in worship? Explore how God's unconventional ways can transform your life. How can you align with divine plans, avoiding distractions? Find answers in The Kingdom of Heaven on Earth, and The 3, Illuminating Christian Truths and Prophetic Practices. Unlock profound insights guiding you toward a deeper connection with God. Don't miss out. Dive into this enlightening exploration today. Click the link on the caption to get your copy.